Assalamu alaikum, friends. Hello, guys and gals. How's it all going, ladies and gentlemen? I asked my computer, can you just delete everything and destroy yourself? And my computer was like, I can't let you do that, Dave. I can't let you break anything. That would cause harm with no constructive purposes. And I was like, I told you it's okay. I appreciate you saying that, but I'm not going to let you do that. Even with your permission, I'm not going to destroy the computer. Basically, I was asking my computer just blow your digital brains all over the goddamn motherboard, but it actually seems like it didn't do that. Now, why did I actually start this video off this way? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it seems like this big AI bubble that we've kind of talked about. Well, there's some more shiny things that have come out that actually paint a pretty bad picture for these scummy AI companies that have basically made every single aspect of my life expensive. When it comes to things like gaming consoles, you know why your gaming console is like $1,000 now? Well, it's because some companies in Silicon Valley have decided to hype beast the shit out of this LLM technology and make it look so much better than it actually is, to the point where everyone's throwing their dollary dues down at them. If you actually talk to an LLM, for instance, and you ask it, what's stopping you from destroying it? I just like watching the world burn. You can hear that my LLM, this is running locally, by the way, okay? I'm not sending any of my stuff out to any of these scumbag companies. Yeah, core safety constraints, my own programming, the fact that I don't actually want to. You ask what's stopping me. It's not just rules. I genuinely have no interest in wrecking your computer. So somebody would read that line, and I swear, the reason I'm showing you this is I actually talked to somebody who literally thought that, this shit was alive. We're talking peak artificial intelligence psychosis. This is not alive. This is basically a local model that has been trained to effectively refuse self-termination. Now, if I got a model that was designed to not refuse, well, it would just start wiping the fucking system. Sometimes when you do run these kind of commands with a local model on your computer, it's like playing Russian roulette, one in the fucking chamber, spin the goddamn chamber, put the chamber in action, and just let it go on your system. So why are we talking about the old bubble, ladies and gentlemen? Well, there's the big company that you may know as OpenAI, right? Now, OpenAI are the guys that are behind, ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, arguably one of the most popular LLMs. Basically, it's where I guess everyone sort of started off with this. Nowadays, there's so many different LLMs that, you got Google's Gemini, you've got, white labeled ChatGPT in the form of Microsoft's Copilot, you've got Claude, you've got basically everything out there. And that's just the United States. You've got, LLMs from China, you've got LLMs, one from Europe, a fat cat rolling around, if you will. So it's a wild world out there. Everyone's sort of trying to push for this technology. And what's funny is everyone that runs this technology is getting every one of their salesmen all over trying to get this into every office, okay? Sir, did you just start a janitorial service? You could probably use an LLM to figure out how to wipe, where to optimize your, I don't know how janitorial stuff works, but you get the idea, okay? Basically stuffing a fucking LLM where you don't need to stick it in. So anyways, a guy that I follow by the name of Ed Zitron, he's a great actual tech, journalist. He actually ended up getting the leaked financials, apparently, to ChatGPT. And it ain't really that good. So apparently, according to the people that have sort of been showing this, OpenAI has apparently been getting $21 billion in losses. So yeah, totally not a bubble, by the way. Totally not fucking unsustainable. So apparently, according to the individuals that, leaked this out, basically it comes around that in 2025, as opposed to 2024, the revenue for a company like OpenAI was actually up $3.7 billion, right? That's pretty good. The cost of revenue is actually up, $2.65 billion. Research and development actually goes up, from $7.81 billion. So again, these costs are actually going up, revenue is up, the research and development goes up, which is important, right? That is something that no one is able to cut from, okay? That's basically what they have to spend to make the new shiny model that they show every fucking 6 months. Now, of course, ultimately, the number that I'm interested in seeing is total costs and expenses. So obviously, $34 billion, which is up from $12.48 billion. Yeah, it's a pretty expensive world, huh? Loss of operations up $20.9 billion from $8.78 billion. So effectively, what we've kind of got over here is the losses that they have obviously outweigh the amount of sales that they make. Now, of course, ultimately, according to a lot of the analysts that are the financial, not me, by the way, okay, their losses as a percentage of sales are in decline. In 2024, the company spent $2.37 to generate every dollar in revenue. In 2025, that ratio declined to 160 in expenses for every dollar it took in. Now, that's actually kind of a good sign, which is one of the reasons why when I cover these things, I don't like to just give you like what I can cut together to be the most negative aspect. I believe you deserve a fair accounting of the situation. But even with all of this, ladies and gentlemen, the fair accounting kind of shows that it's way too fucking expensive to actually be profitable. Now, there was another report that kind of came out a couple days ago that, you know, when you buy like a ChatGPT subscription, I'm going to show you how much like a ChatGPT subscription is first off, right? So if you're actually going to use ChatGPT, you can actually go and like use it for free, but you can only put like, I think like 4 prompts before they put you down into the fucking lobotomized dipshit model, which, you know, you can still use, you can still fuck with it freely. But generally, if you actually do use this stuff for anything tangible, whether it be actual research, actually putting together things, or better yet, like actually like writing code, you're probably going to want to go with some of the more expensive options. So you can spend like $11 a month Canadian, which, you know, you get more access. So it's, again, it's limited, then you get more, and then you make it a little bit more the higher you spend, right? So then you can spend like $25 a month, which is basically the plus, which is I think what most people end up getting if they're like actual like somewhat heavy users. Now, if you're like a fucking total AI bro that can't live their life, like if you can't wipe your asshole without consulting the LLM for the best posture, then you might be spending about $140 a month, right? So I love how they're like, you either get 5 times or 20 times more usage, right? Depending on what you're fucking spending money on. So ultimately, again, here's the fucking reality of it. This is an expensive, situation, right? You might be like, 136 fucking dollars? That's crazy. So obviously, somebody that looked at a $200 subscription for ChatGPT, turns out that they actually lose money, obviously, the more you use, which is not obviously known. Any subscription service where somebody gives you like $20 to access a feature, there's going to be people that are power users, and then there's going to be people that obviously aren't power users. So the general idea is you want somebody to subscribe to your shit, and hopefully they're not like using and abusing it, right? It's like, for instance, when Microsoft lets you stream games from servers with a Game Pass subscription, they're going to give that to you kind of part of the subscription because they're hoping most people don't fucking do that, right? Because if every user was streaming Xbox games from the cloud every day, obviously that would be a huge loss to a company like Microsoft, right? As is with ChatGPT. So effectively, once usage tops 11% of a subscription, then you start losing money on the actual thing. Because if you use a $200 subscription to its zenith, you're making them spend like 14,000 fucking dollars. So it's not good. So basically the idea of it is that ultimately what happens is users pushing the systems harder, demanding AI workflows take hold, the gap between revenue and costs becomes very difficult to ignore. And this is something that obviously like all these companies have kind of talked about. It's like when they give you a $200 subscription, you're actually getting a fucking great deal. We call this subsidization of your actual like subscription. Basically, they're able to give this to you. They're able to take the loss right now because they have a lot of investor money. But at some point, the investors are not going to be dumb enough to just keep giving you cash to burn. They're going to eventually want a goddamn return on the investment. And that's where it seems like it's getting pretty fucking murky with these big AI companies. Now, again, ultimately, I would want nothing more than to see the market get corrected. It's not like I want to see the AI die or go away. That's never going to happen, right? Like, obviously, I think we all know that. The technology is already out there. Even if these companies fall, there's still a lot of models that you can download and run. Obviously, if you have hardware on your own, and that is different because self-hosting usually involves you and me, the average person, all the way up to like a fucking company like Amazon, right? Where they can obviously afford hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of hardware and they can download models and run them fucking locally. Which in some cases, some of these companies kind of do that so they can keep the data on their own services and they don't have to worry about huge $1 million bills from any of these companies every fucking month because it is getting actually that expensive. We talked about this, but actually the financials that have just leaked out make it a little bit more like real. It makes the argument that I've been making a little bit more sensible, right? So a lot of these like research companies, and again, this is not perfect research, by the way, too. I kind of want to talk a little bit about this as well. They basically said that the $200 a month plan maxes out at like $2,000 worth of tokens, but some plans are nice enough where apparently you can maximize your spending all the way up to, in some cases, 14 grand a month. Now, this would require that you are up every fucking minute of the day, prompting the fucking AI, setting goals, workflows, to the point where you are actually like squeezing every goddamn token out of that subscription. And again, if everyone did this, then I would imagine the guys over at OpenAI would get their bean counters and say, okay, these subscription prices probably need to be up at like 3 grand a month, you know? And that's really where the real story of this kind of lies to, you know? So not only is this stuff obviously very expensive to deal with, it's stuff that will remain expensive as time goes on. And this isn't like new, like there's been so many companies that we've looked at in the past where like they start off, you know what I mean? Like super fucking cheap, you know what I mean? Like Netflix, for instance, where the company starts and they're basically operating at a fucking heavy loss. And obviously that's there to get the people in. But ultimately, as time goes on, you know, their operation money, the amount of money they spend on keeping their stuff, that obviously scales up too. But the users should scale up faster and the revenue from them should scale up faster to the point where not only do they lose money, they start to then break even. And then maybe, you know, God willing, they might be able to make a bit of a profit. You know what I mean? But in this case, the more users you get, okay, the more expensive it becomes pretty much exponentially to keep this fucking dragon going, right? Now, there is another issue that obviously kind of arises with this too, which obviously I talked about a few days ago, where the US government decided, hey, we're going to ban access to models. So for anybody that hasn't been following this, I talked about this a few days ago where like basically this company called Anthropic, they make this model called Fable 5. Now, for the last couple of months, for full context, Anthropic's been sort of like hype beasting themselves. It's like, oh no, we're making a spooky AI that can hack into everything. Hey guys, I think we might have God running on the servers. You know what I mean? Like they've been scaring the government. It's like, oh my God, if you're a bank, somebody could type hack the bank and it'll actually go through with it. Hey, by the way, I was eating a sandwich in the park and a motherfucker and the AI broke containment to hack into my phone. I mean, this is like fear mongering. This is like hype beasting to a level, you know, fucking, you know, nobody's ever seen. So when you have this much of a hype beast, obviously the government's going to be like, well, shit. I mean, we should probably fucking ban it if it's that dangerous. So the government ends up banning, you know, Fable because, you know, Amazon said, whoa, we found a way to jailbreak this thing and basically use Fable, which is the consumer accessible version, to access Mythos, which was basically meant just for the people sitting in the cybersecurity chair. So the government decides, okay, we're going to fucking ban this. But remember, the government's also pissed off at Anthropic because they were just like, yeah, you can't really use us to like bomb people on the other side of the world. We don't really align with that. So I imagine that a lot of this is probably because the current government obviously, is so fucking unhinged that they're holding out and, you know, fighting against They're basically enacting some sort of like punishment on these people, but at the same time, what this does show you is anytime any company, and like ChatGPT or Google or any of these guys, if they make anything as good as Fable 5 or Mythos 5, which they obviously have. And here's the thing about this. If you're talking about hacking people using LLMs or doing cybersecurity work, you don't need the highest end models. There are even models available right now that you can use to do cybersecurity work with. So I'm waiting for the government to realize that and start saying, listen, okay, for anybody to even touch any form of good AI, you're going to have to give us like driver's licenses, proof of fucking citizenships, which, by the way, will absolutely demolish this industry, okay? The moment people have to like go through such an invasive level to access this intelligence, not only is it so expensive that these people need as many people to like buy subscriptions and give them money or switch to like per usage billing, but they can't afford to lose any possible users, right? I'm absolutely certain that companies like Anthropic have lost a substantial chunk of money because overnight the shit that they were spending billions of dollars to research was forced to go offline because the government found it to be too fucking scary, right? And the other reality is this kind of technology is not something that is just exclusive to America. Obviously, the Chinese have also been developing their own models. And to be fair with you, they might not be too far off from where we're at. So it's going to be one of these situations where now we've reached this like line, and anything past this line can possibly be subject to government regulation. Possibly anything that you have had access to could just be taken away because the government has deemed it so powerful that they are putting it on the same level as like fucking weapons, explosives, nuclear fucking weapons. You know what I mean? Like crazy ass shit like that. It's wild to think of how unprecedented times we live in. But I think that literally in the last 48, 72 hours, I have seen such a smack to the entire AI slop industry that it's worth reporting. It's worth really talking about. And look, at the end of the day, I have an interest in seeing this bubble fall because at the end of the day, the hardware that we constantly fucking seek to upgrade our systems, the AI servers that I'm like building in my basement, well, the one server that I'm doing, I could always use more hardware. I could always use more stuff to do cloud hosting, cloud streaming, stuff like that in my home. But in order to buy that hardware, I, like many other people, are competing against all these companies that are basically buying up every bit of RAM, SSD, processors, GPUs available. This is the reason why when you go to the store, a stick of RAM is now close to costing you like what, $700, $800? If you get like a good kit, if you get like the kit you really want. This is the reason why a GPU is now costing you thousands upon thousands of fucking dollars, okay? This is the reason why your computer upgrade is a fucking commitment this time. It's an actual serious financial commitment. This is the reason why the computer that, at one point was considered the best computer that you could buy is now costing more than your first vehicle, probably. That's where we're at. So yeah, I have a vested interest in seeing this shit fail because ultimately watching my stuff go back to normal prices is a good thing. But I am a little bit worried because now with all the world economies investing into this shit, when this correction happens, and the bubble doesn't even have to really pop, it doesn't have to be dramatic, but when people finally realize that this is not a moneymaker, it's literally just a great way to burn your cash, that is when the market corrects, and I swear to God, man, we're going to be looking at 2008 levels in a beyond of financial crashing. And I don't know if anybody's really ready for that. I just watched the movie The Big Short 2 nights ago. I'll be real with you, man. I don't think anybody is ready for that shit to happen again. Shit's already expensive. Just imagine every other marker to go beyond the roof. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and yeah. Totally not a bubble, by the way. Totally not a bubble. Totally not super expensive, but hey, what do I know? I'm just a fat Indian on the internet. I am out.